Today we are diving into one of our own, Beyonce Knowles. Kindly stay with us. In the quiet corners of Houston, Texas, there once lived a little girl who would one day move the world, not with loudness, but with light. Her voice, barely a whisper at first, carried something rare, emotion that could crack open silence. Long before the world knew her name, Beyonce Knowles was just a shy child with big dreams and a bigger voice trapped inside a tiny frame. In a world that often silences little black girls before they find their rhythm, Beyonce's story isn't just one of success, it's one of survival, of soul, and of relentless self-belief. Hers is a journey that begins in a hair salon, grows in the heart of gospel music, faces heartbreak before teenage years are over, and climbs toward greatness one note at a time. This isn't just the story of a superstar, it's the story of how purpose finds you even when you're unsure of your worth. It's the story of a young girl who transformed pain into poetry, stage fright into stage fire, and eventually love into a legacy. If you've ever wondered whether your voice matters, whether your dream is too distant or your gift too fragile, this story is for you. Because sometimes, all it takes is a little girl in a choir stand, holding a mic with shaking hands, to show us how far a single voice can echo. Beyonce was born on September 4, 1981. In the warm heart of Houston, Beyonce Knowles came into the world as the first child of Matthew and Tina Knowles. From the very beginning, she was different. While other children cried to be held, baby Beyonce would hum herself to sleep. Her mother would later joke that Beyonce didn't just babble, she harmonized. Tina Knowles, a fashion-savvy salon owner, and Matthew, a hard-working Xerox sales manager, raised their family with love, faith, and discipline. Their home pulsed with music. Luther Vandross, Anita Baker, Michael Jackson, and gospel choirs often filled the air. The rhythms of R&B and the hope of Sunday morning church harmonies planted deep roots in Beyonce's soul. By the time she was 6, Tina noticed something remarkable. Her daughter would sing entire songs from memory after hearing them only once. What started as background humming during playtime became impromptu living room concerts. Family friends would marvel at the sound that came from such a small girl. There was power there, raw and untamed. But talent alone didn't shield Beyonce from life's challenges. She was shy in school, often quiet and self-contained. Kids picked on her for being different. She struggled to fit in and at times questioned her own worth. Those early wounds would later bleed into her songwriting. The ache, the longing, the need to be seen. Tina enrolled her daughter in dance classes to help her come out of her shell. It was there that Beyonce first tasted the stage. She was awkward at first, but the moment music played, something shifted in her. Her body caught fire with rhythm, and her voice began to follow. When Beyonce was 7, she entered her first talent competition and sang John Lennon's Imagine. Her voice soared through the auditorium like it was meant to be there. She won the competition, beating teenagers nearly twice her age. It was in that moment that Matthew Knowles saw more than just talent. He saw destiny. Every child has a moment when their world shifts, when play turns to passion and dreams begin to stretch beyond imagination. For Beyonce, that moment didn't arrive with fanfare. It came quietly, in a dance studio mirror, in the rhythm of a beat that made her heart race, and in a voice she was just beginning to understand. After her win at the talent show, Beyonce began to take her craft more seriously, even if she didn't yet know what the word craft meant. All she knew was that singing made her feel safe, powerful, and alive. 3 things the world didn't always offer freely to a young black girl with a quiet voice. Her parents began to nurture her talent with cautious optimism. Tina designed costumes, and Matthew, slowly recognizing the business potential, began learning the ropes of the music industry. He wasn't a manager yet, but he was a father who believed in his daughter. And belief, when fed by love and sacrifice, becomes fuel. Houston had a vibrant art scene, and Beyonce enrolled at Parker Elementary School, a fine arts magnet where she joined the school choir and began training in classical music. Her vocal coaches were stunned by her ear for pitch, her ability to hold harmony, and her tireless work ethic. While most children faded halfway through rehearsals, Beyonce stayed sharp. She wasn't the loudest, but she was the most focused. Outside of school, her parents introduced her to gospel choirs and local competitions. It was during one of these that she met Kelly Rowland, a girl whose voice would soon become a lifelong harmony. Their connection was instant. Together, they joined a girl group organized by a local producer, forming the early version of what would later become Destiny's Child. That group was called Girls' Time, and it was raw and unpolished. The girls danced in matching homemade outfits sewn by Tina. They rehearsed tirelessly in Tina's salon, often late into the night after customers had gone home. Matthew, who had now taken on the role of manager, recorded each practice, replaying performances with the intensity of a coach preparing for the Super Bowl. They got a shot at national attention when Girls' Time appeared on Star Search, the biggest talent show on TV at the time. The girls were nervous but determined. Beyonce's hair was curled tightly, her glittery outfit shining under the stage lights. They gave it everything they had, but they lost. For many kids, that would have been the end, but for Beyonce, it was just a beginning. That loss taught her something failure rarely does. It taught her how to fight. "We weren't ready," she admitted later in an interview, "and I never wanted to feel that kind of disappointment again." Matthew took a risk. He quit his job at Xerox to manage the group full-time, a decision that nearly bankrupted the family. Friends questioned his judgment. Bills piled up. But the Knowles household was powered by faith and dreams, not fear. Beyonce, barely a teenager, responded by working even harder. She began vocal training sessions that lasted hours, ran laps while singing to build stamina, and studied tapes of Michael Jackson and Tina Turner like they were textbooks. At an age when most girls were discovering makeup or crushes, Beyonce was discovering herself. She wasn't just learning to sing, she was learning to lead, and in her heart the idea was blooming. This gift I have, it's not just for me, it's for the world. By the time Beyonce was in her early teens, most of her peers were living ordinary lives, school, chores, after-school hangouts. But Beyonce was living in the margins between dreams and discipline. She was rehearsing in small rooms, memorizing harmonies with Kelly Rowland, Latavia Robertson and LaToya Luckett, and battling the uncertainty of chasing a dream that felt just out of reach. The group Girls' Time began transforming, but success didn't come quickly or kindly. After their loss on Star Search, the girls could have dissolved into discouragement, but instead, they doubled down. Under Matthew Knowles' intense management, they began rehearsing like professionals. 5-hour dance sessions, breath control workouts, and relentless vocal drills. Their lives were structured around preparation. Mistakes weren't punished, but they were analyzed and corrected. Growth was mandatory. The Knowles family was now risking everything. Matthew's decision to quit his corporate job meant that the family had to downsize their lifestyle. Friends distanced themselves. Bills went unpaid. Beyonce remembers how the pressure at home only deepened her commitment to the group. "I knew if I failed, my family would suffer," she would later say, "so I couldn't afford to fail." But the pressure didn't just come from within. The music industry was brutal. Meetings with labels led to closed doors and empty promises. Executives said the girls were too young. Others wanted to replace members or rebrand the group entirely. There were offers that came with strings, and compromises Matthew wasn't willing to accept. He believed in his daughter's talent too much to let her be reshaped for someone else's idea of marketability. After several failed deals, the group began to fracture. Girls left, new members joined, and the chemistry had to be rebuilt each time. The emotional toll was real. These weren't just bandmates, they were sisters, bonded by dreams and disappointment. Each departure felt like a heartbreak. Beyonce, still a teenager, felt the weight of it all. She began journaling, writing songs about loss and pressure, seeds of the storytelling that would one day define her music. Eventually, the group re-emerged with a new name, Destiny's Child. The name, chosen from a passage in the book of Isaiah, was more than symbolic, it was prophetic. They were stepping into their calling. They signed a deal with Columbia Records and began recording their debut album. But even with a record deal, success wasn't guaranteed. Their first album, released in 1998, had moderate success with the single No, No, No. It was enough to get noticed, but not enough to feel secure. Internally, the group was already shifting. Fame was knocking, but not everyone could handle the volume. As Beyonce grew into her role as the group's lead singer, more eyes and pressure focused on her. The media spotlight was both flattering and suffocating. People began calling her the star of the group, which created tension. Latavia and Latoya eventually left the group, and the public breakup became a scandal. Rumors flew, critics were harsh, fans were divided. Beyoncé, only 18, was accused of controlling the group and letting her father manipulate decisions. She stayed quiet, but inside, she was breaking. For the first time in her life, music didn't feel like a safe space. Anxiety crept in. She stopped eating. She didn't want to leave her room. Depression became a silent visitor. But even in her darkest hours, she clung to one truth. The voice inside me still works, and I'm not finished yet. So she got back up. She returned to the studio. She prayed, wrote, danced, and sang her way through the storm. Because sometimes the only way to reach the light is to sing your way through the darkness. Destiny's Child wasn't just a group. It was a movement waiting to happen. And after years of grinding in the shadows, the light finally came. With Beyonce Knowles, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams as the new trio, Destiny's Child found their harmony, not just vocally but spiritually. The chemistry was instant. Michelle brought gospel roots, Kelly had smooth R&B sensibility, and Beyonce, well, she had fire. Together they created a sound that was bold, confident, and unapologetically female. In 1999, everything changed with the release of The Writings on the Wall. The album became a cultural phenomenon. Hits like Bills, 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 Bugaboo, and Say My Name weren't just catchy, they were statements. They spoke directly to young women, encouraging self-respect, independence, and strength. Say My Name, in particular, was a turning point. With its iconic harmonies and clever lyrics, the song soared to the top of the charts and won 2 Grammy Awards. The music video, the fashion, the choreography, it all became a blueprint for what a girl group in the new millennium could be. Behind the glamour, though, was hard work few could see. Rehearsals were brutal. Days off were rare. Matthew Knowles ran the group like a boot camp. Beyonce was rehearsing choreography while recording vocals, giving interviews between performances, and managing internal pressures, all while still in her teens. The pressure took its toll, but it also shaped her. Beyonce was becoming more than a singer. She was learning to be a performer, a director, a leader, and the world was taking notice. In 2001, the group released Survivor, an album born from pain and resilience. The title track was a direct response to criticism and the public fallout from former group members. Instead of feeding the gossip, Destiny's Child answered with empowerment. "I'm a survivor, I'm not going to give up," Beyonce sang, and the world believed her. The song became an anthem for anyone who had been counted out, left behind, or told they couldn't make it. It was raw, triumphant, and deeply personal. That same year, the group won more awards, toured globally, and sold millions of records. They weren't just topping charts, they were changing the industry. Beyonce, once the shy girl from Houston, now stood center stage as a young black woman leading one of the biggest music acts in the world. But even then, something inside her was stirring. She loved Destiny's Child, loved the sisterhood, and honored the journey. But she also knew there was more she had to say. Stories that didn't quite fit in group harmonies, visions that didn't have room for compromise. She wasn't just hearing beats anymore. She was hearing her own voice calling her into a new chapter. And when that voice speaks, the wise listen. By the early 2000s, Destiny's Child had become one of the most successful girl groups in history. Platinum albums, sold-out tours, Grammy Awards, they were everywhere, from award show stages to magazine covers. But even with all the success, Beyonce felt something calling her deeper. Not louder, just deeper. She had more to say, stories that didn't belong to a group, visions too personal for 3-part harmonies. So in 2003, she did something bold. She stepped out on her own. But stepping into the spotlight alone wasn't just a career move. It was a risk wrapped in silence, a whisper of uncertainty beneath the roar of fame. The world watched. Some cheered, some doubted. Could she shine without the group? Could she carry the weight of expectation, of legacy, of her own name? What they didn't see was the fire building behind her eyes. In the quiet hours, Beyonce wasn't just recording, she was unraveling, peeling back the layers of image and fame, reaching for something raw, something real. Every lyric she wrote cut a little closer to the bone. Every note she sang echoed from a place untouched by choreography or spotlight. When Dangerously in Love dropped in 2003, it wasn't just an album, it was a revelation, a message wrapped in melody. This is who I am. And yet, behind the music, the mystery grew. Who was the woman behind the power, behind the perfection? Because Beyonce wasn't just breaking away from a group, she was stepping into a legacy no one had seen coming. And this was only the beginning. We are going to stop the first episode here, and I know you can't wait to get to the end of our own Beyonce Knowles story. How she break going on solo. But trust me, the last part of the episode, which will be out in no time, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Part 2 is around the corner, and you will be notified days before it will be released. Hit on the subscribe button, turn the notifications, and get ready for the ride. The real drama's just about to start, on the next part, and you'll be the first to know when it drops. I want you to tell me something we need to know. Thank you so much, and God bless you.